I could go eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
What's up to you?
Go.
Okay. So my name is Ebony Ruhland, and I am a researcher at the Council on Crime and Justice. And mine will be super short because we're actually in the beginning, in the middle of the HIA. But what we're doing, so the Council on Crime and Justice is really interested in reducing racial disparities in the criminal justice system. So all of our work really has a lens at looking at racial disparities in the criminal justice system. And so the project that we originally started, so we have a grant with the Pew Foundation as well, and partly in support of our Blue Cross Blue Shields is also supporting it as well. But we were interested in looking at expungement policy and looking at what happens if you seal a criminal record. How is that going to impact individuals? But between applying for that, Minnesota passed the expungement bill. So we've actually had to change our HIA, and now we're looking at, there's a bill actually introduced that looks at reducing drug sentencing. So many of us know that there are racial disparities in drug sentencing, and we see that many people under community corrections, whether probation or in prison, are drug-related offenses. So right now our HIA is going to be looking at the drug sentencing bill that is currently in the Minnesota House. So as I mentioned, we're in the very beginning stages of that. So we haven't really, we're more in the planning stages. But how can HIAs look at racial disparities and racial justice? Well, I think for the field that I'm in, criminal justice, it's very important because a lot of the policies that we make and a lot of the laws that we have unintended consequences on communities of color. So we have these policies, but who's most impacted by the laws and policies? It's people that are in racial disparities. And so I think, too, when we talk about public safety, too, and we create these laws for public safety, we say we need these to make our communities more safer. But whose communities are we talking about? Are we talking about low-income, predominantly minority communities? No, we're talking about higher-class communities. And so I think that's something I often talk about when we talk about public safety. And so we don't really include those most impacted by the laws and the policies that we create. Even when we look at cultural organizations, that may be a representation of the community, but it's not the community members. And so with our HIA, we are really striving to include community members. We'll have community agencies there, and we'll have government stakeholders there, but it's also important to have those that are maybe not attached to a community group. And then we're also going to have people impacted that have a criminal record. How have they been impacted by these laws in terms of, in all the health areas, in terms of employment, lack of housing, the stress that all that causes, and the trickle-down impacts. So that's really how I see it, how racial equity can be a part of our HIA. And then also making sure that the individuals are in we don't just want to do focus groups with individuals of color or the community members or people with criminal records, but we want them to be a part of the stakeholder group. We want them to be a part of the decision making. So they're a part of the committees at the higher level groups as well. So we're not just collecting data from them and saying, oh, we're including them and we're partnering with them. No, they're actually a part of making the decisions and coming up with the ideas. So again, not as long because I don't have findings, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay, this should be fun. Hi, y'all. I'm Cecilia. I work at the Center for Earth, Energy, and Democracy. And